an unconstitutional hoax.
Do you remember when big tech called themselves the free speech platform and used slogans like "Don't be evil"? Fast forward a decade and suddenly those platforms we loved for years have changed, and the promises they made at the start no longer apply. So what happened? How did we get here? Over the last decade, these companies have quietly moved their corporate headquarters outside the US to EU tax havens. The big change? Well, big tech is now governed under UN law. In simple terms, US free speech laws no longer apply to these platforms. What started as free speech for all is now regulated speech to some. We believe you, the people, not big tech, are the best judge of what you want to watch, read, and hear. We are content creators. We understand that a creator's ability to make a living should not be infringed upon. We created Zap Media with you in mind, a free market, next-gen media platform that believes in protecting your speech rights and, equally as important, your privacy, including IP theft and data mining. By removing the threat of censorship and freeing the market, content creators have a home base to build their platforms and grow their brands. The Zap Media community are brand ambassadors, coalescing behind publishers, subscribers, and advertisers alike. This is the beginning of the next big wave in digital media. With an estimated 225 million video-on-demand users expected by 2022, Zap is poised, with your help, to fully launch before the end of 2019. We look forward to partnering with you.
Aloha and welcome to Trust and Verify, the only show where we tell you every week, trust me, I don't know shit about the Clintons. Verify it. We got a great show ahead for you guys. Before we can get to that, I got to introduce my friend, my partner, my co-host, the man from the land down under, Boogie Bumper. How's it going, brother?
Boogie Bumper. Who's Boogie? I don't know who Boogie Bumper is. I've never heard of Boogie Bumper. I've got no idea who you're talking about. Also, never heard of the Clintons. What are they? Never. What are they? Singers or something? Is it like some kind of family singing troupe that goes around the country?
They were the co-hosts, like kind of side addition to the Osmonds.
Ah, right. So, yes, the Osmonds, they were brother and sister.
That's
and the Clintons, what, husband and wife team are they? Or
something like that? Something like that.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Maybe I should check them out. Yeah, who knows? Thanks, everyone, for joining us on a show that knows absolutely nothing about the Clintons. Just a reminder, if it is a little late, of course, you can always download the podcast on iTunes and Podbean, James. Tonight, I want to do something a little different. I want to discuss what we talk a lot about campaigning on this show, you and I, and we talk about ways that the media is going to try and create certain cognitive environments for the audience and ways that they are going to try to create perceptions that they want us to fall into and adhere to. And what I've noticed during this week, even though what appears to be a very chaotic week and a lot of stuff going on, and there has been a lot of stuff going on, obviously, and we will touch on Jeffrey Epstein as well, I have seen a trend, a subtext to the reporting going on in the press, which to me might present with us the first sproutings of their strategy moving into 2020. So that's what I want to go through tonight, give you the corporate media starter pack. But you've got a little item there just so we cover our bases, James, just so we cover our ass before we get too far into this.
Yep. Let me play this clip for you guys. This is our official disclaimer moving forward. I think you guys will enjoy this.
Shaking my head. I'm not surprised. I told y'all last month this was going to happen. But didn't nobody want to listen to me? But then guess what? Next month he dead. And you know what? all the liberals were calling me a conspiracy theorist, saying, Terrence, you coming up with crazy conspiracies and you need to be banned from Twitter. And then guess what? The man really ended up dead. And you know what? He had information on the Clintons, and the man ended up dead. Now, for some odd reason, people that have information on the Clintons end up dead. And they usually die from suicide. Come on now. Now, how do everybody die from suicide? They got information on you. Okay? You know what, to be honest with you, I don't want to know nothing about the Clintons. Don't tell me nothing. I'm not trying to end up there. I don't even want to know if Hillary was digging in her nose. I don't want to know if Bill Clinton eat boogers. Don't tell me nothing. I don't want to end up there. I don't want to hear it. Nope. I can't hear you. I don't want to hear it. I'm not finna end up there like everybody else. You know what? Now, I'm not going to say who killed that man because you know, I could end up being, but the word around the street is the Clintons did it. I don't know though. Hey, I'm just another black man on Twitter. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. I guess I don't know nothing. But so somebody tell me what's going on, because clearly, now how you end up dead and you are a high profile case in prison? Come on now, and you on suicide watch and you die of suicide in prison? Yeah, okay, somebody not doing their job, or somebody got paid not to do their job, so somebody can get knocked off so information don't come out. But I don't know nothing. I'm just another black man on Twitter.
Black man on Twitter. I fucking love it.
Well done.
There you go. There's our official disclaimer for the Tab Show.
Well, James, I think what's fair to say after all this is that any talk about any wrongdoing in regards to Jeffrey Epstein would only be conspiracy theory, James. It could only possibly be conspiracy theory in no realm of, you know, the various multiverses of different dimensions of existence, James, that exist beyond our understanding. Could it possibly be anything but a conspiracy theory? And quite rightly, James, Donald Trump was criticized for spreading this very hurtful, very harmful conspiracy theory on Twitter. Oh. Democratic presidential contenders have criticized U.S. President Donald Trump for promoting a conspiracy theory.
I've lost your audio, Book. I've lost your audio. We haven't had a problem in days, and suddenly you just went blank.
I'm back. There
All
we
right,
go.
there you go.
Yeah, it was working for. Well, I was just saying, should I open the kimono?
Just open the kimono now.
Just saying before the show, it seems that we've sorted out all of the audio issues. Everything's working fine. Everything's working perfectly. There you go. There you go.
I said it just to fully expose that kimono too. I literally said, "Don't worry, it's gonna fuck up right in the middle of the show." That's what I fucking said.
Another prediction right on Trust and Verify.
That's right.
So, Donald Trump criticized for spreading Jeffrey Epstein conspiracy theory, James. Democratic presidential contenders have criticized U.S. President Donald Trump for promoting a conspiracy theory about the apparent suicide of disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein in his New York jail cell. Greeno, James. I love the fact that they're saying that it's a conspiracy theory, yet they still can't really say for sure if he killed himself or not. Well, apparently it was a suicide. Apparently it was a suicide. But if you say it wasn't an apparent suicide, then that's just a conspiracy theory. After Saturday's death of Mr. Epstein, a millionaire charged with sex trafficking. That's wrong. He's a billionaire, isn't he?
That's right.
A billionaire be more accurate?
Yep.
Charged with sex trafficking, who once counted Mr. Trump and former President Bill Clinton as friends. There we go. Do you see what's happening here?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Trump retweeted a claim from a conservative comedian that Mr. Clinton was involved in the death. The Trump retweeted Terrence K. Williams, who said Mr. Epstein had information on Bill Clinton and now he dared. He did. There's another example of our president using the position of public trust to attack his political enemies with unfounded conspiracy theories, Mr. O'Rourke said. Mr. O'Rourke said Mr. Trump was trying to shift the public's focus away from last week's mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, Dayton, Ohio, because, James, nobody
nobody was really interested in the Jeffrey Epstein case, were they?
No, not
I mean,
at
if
all.
you mention,
Total distraction.
I mean, if you mention this, if you mention this billionaire who had fake passports and apparently a residence in Saudi Arabia, who was wining and dining with some of the world's most powerful people, who had an island with literal rape dungeons in there, who had a plane with underage girls flying around giving him neck massages and stuff, a guy who got off of these charges because according to the prosecutor at the time, it was above his pay grade because it had something to do with intelligence. You know, if you just mention this, it's because you're trying to take the focus off the shooting in El Paso. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. By the way, James, we don't like it when conspiracy theories are permeating around, do we? We really don't like it. And Donald Trump retweeting that Terrence Williams video, he's just trying to push a conspiracy theory to make people distracted. See, here at the corporate press, James, we don't engage in that kind of nonsense. Here at the corporate press, we don't deal in conspiracy theories, just facts.
Yeah, this is somebody who not only is high profile, who not only knew a lot of high profile people, whose papers just came out of court, just to let out some of the documents related to his cases that name high profile people, who was friends with the current president of the United States, who flew the previous president of the United States around on his plane, who is alleged to have trafficked girls to a member of the royal family of Britain. Okay, this is not this is you know, on the same level like a Bill Cosby. This is a famous person who's now in prison. He knows a lot about a lot of people. And as you said earlier, his only out at this point would be to talk about those people.
Now, remember, James, we don't like conspiracy theories here at the corporate press. This is real news coming at you.
Right.
So he's in this very vulnerable situation. And then you throw in the fact, which I did not know until, thank God, Stephanie Gosk was sitting here and told me this, that this is now a facility under the control of the Department of Justice. And this Department of Justice does not exactly inspire confidence. Let's just be blunt.
Yes.
William Barr's Justice Department is not one that you can readily simply rely upon and feel confident in. And so what do we make of all this now that in this federal facility, this person was allowed to be alone long enough to either harm himself or be killed by some... We don't know what happened.
It's all William Barr's fault, James. All William Barr's fault. Did you know that?
All right, all you meme makers in the audience right now, I want a 00 bar meme. I want a 00 bar meme with maybe a Garrett in his hand, ready to go take care of Epstein, because that's essentially what Joy Reid just said, is that AG Barr may be the assassin himself. Holy shit, these people are batshit crazy.
Well, you can't trust the DOJ, James, not with a guy like William Barr in control, because as you know, William Barr, up until very recently, has been openly lying to the American people and the world by proxy. You'll remember when he released the Mueller report to the public, James, with just a few redactions that he was legally not allowed to unredact, of course.
Right.
When he released that report, that was the same thing as trying to keep the report from people. You remember. So he was trying to hide the report by letting out a memo boiling down the points of the report and then releasing the full report. So he was trying to cover up the report with a memo. So, you know, it's not beyond this guy. Let's be honest here. Let's talk about this, though. Did you hear the theory about the video camera was malfunctioning?
Yes.
Right. Okay. He was on suicide watch, and then apparently he wasn't on suicide watch, and now he turns up dead from suicide. Do you know, above everything else, and I don't know if you noticed this, within hours, you had the opinion writers and the legal experts coming out and saying, well, this basically ends the case because there goes your star witness and we've got nobody to talk to now, so that's pretty much it now. Now we're going to have to drop all the cases. We're going to have to drop all the investigations. There's no point carrying on because Jeffrey Epstein's like that. Like clockwork, James. All of the corporate media reporting was going along the same line. Well, I guess it's over. I guess it's all over. Sorry, guys, go back to bed. So for me, what it says to me is like, you know, have you heard the term black-pilled? So there's red-pilled is when you discover what's really wrong with the world. Black-pilled is when you accept the fact that you can do absolutely nothing about it and we're all fucked, basically. So it's a very black-pilled moment for me because it just shows that regardless of how high profile somebody is, regardless of the attention on them, they things will happen just openly in front of your face, and you know what's going to happen. Like, nobody's going to do anything, right? They can just get rid of this guy in prison, in solitary confinement, on suicide watch, with a camera watching over him, and still it's like, oh well, he's dead now. Sorry guys, got to go. It was fun while it lasted. Go back to work, pay your taxes, shut the hell up.
You just brought up the perfect fucking point, and I know you didn't do it on purpose. Everybody, after the show, don't leave me, but right after the show on YouTube, go check out Steve Pieczenik, Dr. Steve Pieczenik's Opus 190. He just talked about this yesterday and explained exactly what Boogie just talked about, which is that it's God, I'm gonna fuck the name up. I'm telling you right now, this is wrong, but it's something like inversion paradox, where essentially they know that they're going to do something and just say, fuck it, prove it to the public and let you guys run with it. Like, they know it's absolutely absurd to think that a guy that we literally wrote memes that said, Hillary and I are sorry to hear about Jeffrey Epstein's pending suicide next Thursday at 8 p.m. We wrote those memes. And for someone to kill him, no matter who you think it is, even if it was Jeffrey Epstein himself, no matter who you think, how he was gotten to, you have to think about that paradox right there. Is that they're literally just saying, fuck it. You guys just do whatever you want. We don't care. You can't do a fucking thing about it. That's what he's talking about right there. And it's really a good opus to actually pay attention to see the insight of a guy who is a psychologist forever, that's doing this for 40 years, that understand in the military intelligence field. He's been inside those people, that he understands what they're trying to do and how it would have happened and how it would occur. So it's very important key point there. As soon as you said it, I went bang. That's exactly what they're talking about.
He actually, in his history, James, from what I can tell, he was actually working with the political prisoners in the Soviet Union who were locked up in mental institutions, and got a bunch of them released as well. So he knows his stuff when it comes to this sort of thing, Steve Pieczenik. Right. And he's a national treasure. So I would be very worried if I was this lady, Ghislaine Maxwell, James, because now apparently Epstein's accusers call her his protector and procurer. Is Ghislaine Maxwell now prosecutor's target? That is not what you want to see if you are this young lady on the front page of the Washington Post.
She's begging for witness protection right now. Holy shit! Get me into witness protection right now.
Well, just what's the point of witness protection? You could be in solitary confinement, James, with a video camera on you and still end up dead. What the hell is the point of witness protection? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Ghislaine Maxwell was, according to her accusers, Jeffrey Epstein's protector and procurer, his girlfriend and his madam. She was, by all reports, James, a soulmate and a mirror image. He grew up in Brooklyn with no money to speak of and never finished college. She is Paris-born, Oxford-educated, a jet-setter who partied with princes and billionaires. Together, Epstein and Maxwell allegedly built what prosecutors, police, and a growing number of women described as a sex trafficking operation that crisscrossed the nation to provide Epstein with 3 young girls per day. The death of Epstein, the convicted sex offender who authorities said hanged himself in a federal detention center cell in New York on Saturday, leaves those who seek someone responsible for the alleged abuse of dozens of girls with one prime target, Maxwell. And there she is. So what do we? What's the betting market on life expectancy now for this young lady?
Well, according to the chat room, she's already missing. So I don't think the bets are going to be really good here. So I'm not touching that one. But this story just said it's literally fake news. I don't even know what the newspaper is here, but they literally just cited that.
It's the Washington Post.
Oh, there you go. Of course, it's fake news. It said that government officials said that he hanged himself. There's been no official declaration of cause of death. There's been no coroner's inquiry. There has been no FBI investigation. And by the way, just to give you some positive, because that's my job on the show. His job is to make you jump off the cliff. My job is to keep you from jumping off the cliff. First of all, 2 things real quick is that everything that he has already talked to the DOJ about will now be treated as a deathbed confession. It will be 100% admissible in court. So everything you heard Boogie talk about where the mainstream media is like, everybody turn around, go home, nothing to see here, the cases must go away. It's actually the opposite. The reason that they want to tell you that the cases all can go away is because they don't get a chance to impeach the witness, which is a positive here. It's absolutely a positive that they cannot get the chance to cross-examine that witness. And on top of that, Bill Barr came out with his statement immediately, and he literally told, remember what I said a long time ago, and I've said it like daily, is that don't worry about Christopher Wray. We have him under our thumb. We understand what's going on, and AG Barr's on top of it. So in AG Barr's own statement, he told Christopher Wray and every FBI agent, if you fuck around with this investigation, you're going to prison. And he said that with this term right here. Not only did he contact the FBI to make sure that they were headed out to the investigation, but he contacted the IG, the Inspector General, to run a simultaneous investigation with the FBI. Separate, not including the FBI. You don't do that. That literally the Inspector General doesn't do a real-time, real-world investigation. The IG is there to, like the watchdog of the FBI. For AG Barr to do that, he's literally telling the FBI, do not fuck around or you're going to prison. Just think about what's going on, exactly what we said. AG Barr wants to know exactly what the fuck happened, and he wants the truth, not some bullshit.
Well, the IG sounds to me like it's effectively like internal affairs for the police department.
Right.
Now, I don't know, do you guys call them toe cutters over there? Is that the term for the
I don't know
internal affairs?
Oh, no,
Okay,
we call them the Rat Squad. We call them the Rat Squad.
Right.
They're called the Rat Squad,
essentially,
yeah.
They're not very well liked.
Right.
Put it that way, by the police department. And I suspect that the IG is not very well liked by various government departments in the United States either. So if people, like, you know, just to balance up the conversation, if people think just because the IG is investigating the FBI in regards to Jeffrey Epstein that truth is going to come out, then I would point you to the fact that the FBI is probably going to make it very, 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 very difficult for the IG to unearth anything because they really don't like people coming from other departments sniffing around, sticking their noses up their ass, sniffing their business. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're really not fans of that. So that's not, you know, that's not going to prove anything either way until it comes out. So, you know, I would just, you know, humbly suggest don't pin your hopes on something like the IG report because historically it's very difficult to find shit out when people like the FBI and the CIA don't want you to. And then, you know, I guess, you know, it would be probably remiss of us to suggest that a guy like Jeffrey Epstein probably didn't have friends in high places, or at very least people who he controlled in high places. I tend to fall back on, you know, people are going to say, they're actually now saying that Donald Trump and AG Barr murdered this guy, which I find baffling on many levels. But let's put it this, I tend to think this, right? What if he really did just kill himself because he knew that if he didn't do it, somebody else was going to do it for him and make it far more painful? Right. Maybe that's all it took. Maybe that's all it took for somebody to come past his cell like at 2 o'clock in the morning, tap, tap, tap. You know, Jeff, it's not looking good for you, mate. There is one way out of this prison cell and you know what to do. And, you know, if you don't do it, then somebody else is going to do it for you. Something like that. Next thing you know, oh, what do you know? What do you know? He just turned up dead one day. Nothing suspicious at all. You know what I mean? Mm. But, yeah, it does speak to the overt nature of life these days, where once upon a time we would talk about conspiracy theories and cover-ups, and now we have people openly being whacked or at least encouraged to kill themselves in jail cells, like, and it's all over the national news, and they're still calling things conspiracy theories. They're still calling it a conspiracy theory. Yeah. James, I want to go to this. Let's bring it back to some neutral ground here. You sent me this clip, and I think it's time for another James victory lap, if I'm not mistaken. Let's have a look. Former White House aide, former White House advisor Steve Bannon, ladies and gentlemen, speaking with Maria Bartiromo.
Welcome back. We are back with former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon. He is live in Arizona at the Arizona border this morning. And Steve, you just said something really compelling. You said you think that we could have a situation where somebody comes into this race on the Democratic side.
Just incidentally, it was nice for Steve to have a shave this morning before he went on TV. Well done, Steve. I love that.
Look at the hero pose. Like, is he next to the Grand Canyon? He's got the fucking hair blowing. He's got the ascot on. Like, look at this guy. He's like, yeah, that's right, motherfuckers. I'm the king of this motherfucking world.
You can't see it because it's cut out from the shot, but he's actually standing on top of a tank.
I love it. I think it's
rolling
great.
to the border.
In the 11th hour, maybe a Michelle Obama, maybe a Hillary Clinton, or maybe a Michael Bloomberg, you said. But is that, I mean, how would they do that? Isn't it too late? Is it a money issue?
No. First off, they'll all have tremendous resources in background. In fact, Bloomberg's committed $500 million already to the race. No, it's before the primary season. And by the way, I think they can grind up the primary season and take it to a convention.
Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
Hello. I'm
Hello.
raving.
Can you hear me
Is
in the
this thing
back?
on?
Is this thing on?
Yep. Can you guys remember who said what? How long ago? Yeah. I think that was Tav Show that said virtually everything Steve Bannon is saying right now. What? I don't know. Last year? I don't know. I can't even tell you. It was a long time ago. Like it was a long time ago. We fucking outlined all this shit. So now you got the guys in the know, the guys in the game, the guys playing the chess pieces themselves, telling you what Tav Show tells you week in, week out.
There you go.
Remember, the Democrats want to defeat Donald Trump. That is their focus. And to defeat Donald Trump, you've got to defeat him. He's the toughest candidate I've seen in my lifetime, tougher than Ronald Reagan. And so you're going to have to bring it. Like I keep saying, if you're going to beat Donald Trump, you got to learn to hit a fastball. Joe Biden right now can't hit changeups. So I think there's a lot of intense, very smart people on the Democratic side are analyzing this field.
Yep.
And I just don't see this field as of right now standing up to Donald Trump. Also, some of their policies and how they've abandoned previous policies to be so radical. Remember, what President Trump's trying to do on the border is all about the rule of law. I happen to think he's going to get 40 or 50% of the Hispanic vote in this country.
Okay, that's an opinion. But what we did, we went over it on this show. I think it was this show, James, last week, when we talked about the NBC poll after the Democratic Party debates and the various positions that the candidates are taking, and that they're actually very, very far left to the progressive side of the ledger. And a majority of people in a general election vote against those policies. And this isn't something that's just happening in the United States. It's something, look, the last Australian election, a lot of people, including myself, were very surprised when the Conservative Party won the election. And, you know, in the cold light of day, when we analysed it post-match, James, we realised that the problem was the Labor Party went too far on woke policies. They were pushing too far. We had people off record inside the Labor Party saying this is the death of the progressive political agenda in Australia. That's how serious it was. That's how bad the defeat was. The same thing happening in the UK, James. The same thing happening in Western Europe, whether it's France, whether it's Germany. Eastern Europe has already dismissed and disgraced the progressive agenda. And now the same thing is happening in the United States. And I feel like maybe we're looking at a situation where worldwide, and Bannon has been traveling around Western Europe, probably getting a sense of the lay of the land politically. He's not an idiot. You might like or dislike the guy, but one thing is for certain, he's no dummy. I would suggest that perhaps he can see this trend in the United States happening now, where they're pushing further and further, going more progressive, and knows that it is wholly unpopular within Middle America and those purple swinging districts. Would that be a fair, 100%. Articulation of what we're seeing here?
100%. And I called that out as well. And so did you, right here on Tav Show, on all of our daily shows, your show, my show. We've been highlighting this stuff forever. And we pointed out, Steve Bannon was just in England. Oh, guess what just happened in England? Oh, Brexit. Oh, Steve Bannon was in France. Oh, guess what just happened? Marina just won over there in the European election. Oh, Steve Bannon was back in England. Oh, what happened? Oh, the Brexiteers all won the EU election. Oh, Steve Bannon was just in Australia. What happened? Oh, yeah, the Conservative Party just won in Australia. Oh, Steve Bannon was just in New Zealand going, oh, shit, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I mean, like, just think about it. Wherever Steve Bannon has been, right behind Steve Bannon has been a conservative, populist, nationalist victory. Almost every single time, including Italy, including even in Germany when he talked to them, and he's backed them off on some of their policies by saying, hey, are you fucking people stupid? Like, what the hell are you guys doing over here? So just pay attention to what's going on with Steve Bannon. like we said here on Tab Show, all the way back to when Steve Bannon left the White House. I will go all the way back to when all of these crap dickhead pundits all over the internet were telling you how, holy shit, it's the end of Trump's presidency. He's getting rid of Steve Bannon. Fuck Trump. I'm off the Trump train. I can't believe he's getting rid of Steve Bannon. People like me were like, yeah, he's not getting rid of Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon's just going to do things under the radar. And after that is when all this stuff happened. And we're proving it. Steve Bannon is still talking to Donald Trump. He's still on the Trump train. He's never once said anything negative, unlike the mooch. He's never once gone after the president. And every single one of the policies, you see where he is, the Trump presidency, and their agenda is being fulfilled around the world.
So if you're aware that your party is lurching further and further to the left, James, and becoming, you know, by definition, more unpopular with the middle moderate part of the electorate, James, what do you do? Because you've got a perception problem then. You're seen as the party of the, you know, of a fringe. You're seen as the party of one end of the ideological spectrum. And you can't allow your opponent to then be seen as the alternative to that, because the alternative would be moderate, right? Fringe versus moderate. So the way that you counter this perception, James, and the way that you maintain momentum is to cast your opponent as what? Equally radical, or at least more radical than yourself, because you want to be the moderate guy. You want to be the electable one. You want to be the one that's going up against the radicals and the extremists, James. So how do you do that? Like this. Like this. Thanks to the New York Times, how the El Paso killer echoed the incendiary words of conservative media stars, James. You want to know how to paint your opponent as a radical leading into 2020? You do it like this. And you attack the surrogates, which are responsible for getting the message out there, getting the speech out there, getting the campaign rhetoric out there, James. You attack them as radicals first.
We're being invaded. The invasion of illegal immigrants.
The fact of the matter is that this is an attempted invasion of our country. We had all these miners from Central America flooding the border.
Multiculturalism
Tucker,
isn't
Rush,
real. This
Sean
is
Hannity.
really destroying one culture and replacing it with the new foreign culture.
This is not migrants coming into the country. This is nothing short of an invasion.
Democrats who want to replace you, the American voters, with newly amnestied citizens.
So they're talking about replacement theory, James. Yep. Here's an article for you from The Guardian, known right-wing conspiracy website. How white supremacy went mainstream in the US, 8chan, Trump, and voter suppression. We'll just go down here. I've highlighted a couple of paragraphs for you. This is to show you how gaslighting works when it comes to the press, okay? Now, what you think about demographic change, what you think about people and blah, 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 that's a conversation for another time. But at least I think what we can all admit to is that mass immigration has fundamentally changed the makeup of various countries in the West. Would that be a fair statement? Absolutely. I think that's a relatively fair statement. I mean, you know, in certain countries, take Australia, for example, due to mass immigration, the Australian population has grown 50% in the last 3 decades. So right. It's, you know, it's really exploded. Similar in the United Kingdom, similar in Western Europe, and of course, similar in the United States. All of these shooters were obsessed with the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, James. It's a conspiracy. Sometimes referred to as white genocide. It's the idea that shadowy elites, usually Jewish, almost always liberal, are orchestrating the destruction of white culture through demographic change. That's called a straw man, first of all. Because you're trying to say that the demographic shift is inherently, evil and run by a secret cabal, when it doesn't really have to be for it to still be real, right?
Right.
The theory goes that white culture will be eroded mainly through migration and birth rates. The more people of color are arriving in majority white countries, the ones already there are having more and more babies, and birth rates are declining for the soon-to-be oppressed white people. But birth rates are declining for white people, and they are exploding for migrant families. So you can see
the mainstream media, the mainstream media is clearly oppressing white people every day. It's bad to be white. It's all over the fucking news. Holy shit!
Listen to this. But the fans of this theory and the idea of demographic threat to the white hierarchical structure are no longer the preserve of extremists that lurk in the netherworlds of the internet. White supremacy and the ideas and motivations that drive it are flourishing in plain sight in the US. But then you go through like people talking about everybody's a racist and a Nazi, and then you get down to here. Now, same article. The rise of white supremacy is being driven in part by demographic change, although racism has flourished in the US long before whites were in sight of losing their position as the majority. The US Census predicts that by 2050, white people will no longer be the majority in the country. I'm sorry, the US Census?
Yeah.
So the US Census is now propagating white supremacist theory. Is that what we're arguing here? The Bureau of Statistics is a white supremacist platform for Nazis, James? Is that what we're saying here? A Census Bureau report from 2015 predicted that by the time the 2020 census is conducted, more than half of American school children will be non-white, meaning that majority-minority future will be baked in unless something drastic changes it. But I thought it was just a conspiracy theory.
It is.
I thought it was all made up.
Yeah. It's all
white
made up.
supremacist conspiracy theory coming from, of all places, James, the US Bureau of Statistics. There you go. Isn't that fun?
Fantastic.
I thought that was fun for you.
That's fantastic. What a fact. There you go. Oh my God.
What a fact.
These people are just crazy.
On the El Paso stuff, I want to show you how we're going to frame this. Here's one of the attack points that I've noticed in the last couple of days. And we live in this hyper-focused reality, James, where everything is micro-watched and micro-managed and pulled apart and analyzed and dissected. We are reaching new levels. So if you can't beat Donald Trump by calling him a racist, right? If you can't beat Donald Trump by calling him a sexist, a misogynist, if you can't beat him by calling him Vladimir Putin's cock holster, if you can't beat him by doing all of these things, how are you going to beat him? You beat him as showing him as a heartless autocrat pushing white supremacist ideology. Okay, let's have a look.
I want to put up the photo that's caused a lot of controversy over the last 12 hours. This was posted by the First Lady Melania Trump on Twitter, and she's holding a baby boy. I spoke incorrectly before, and I said it was a baby girl. This is a baby boy who lost his parents in the massacre in El Paso. And the reason this photo is causing controversy is because, look, the First Lady's smiling, the President's flashing the thumbs up there. And this baby lost his parents. Now, people look at this and say, Earl, how could you take a picture flashing a thumbs up with an orphan like that, essentially?
How could you?
The other side of it is that the uncle who was standing in that photo is a Trump supporter, apparently.
You see, James, we are desperate to attribute blame and responsibility for what happened in El Paso to Donald Trump, right? And his rhetoric, his awful rhetoric about using terms like invasion and that kind of thing, which comes straight out of the white supremacist playbook, which we just read from The Guardian. So we are so desperate to tie him responsible, make him responsible for these actions, that these are the kinds of things I want you to keep an eye out for. Because what he's supposed to do there is look solemn and look depressed because he knows that he's responsible. See, anytime Donald Trump doesn't actively look like he is responsible for the shootings, he needs to be attacked as being heartless and lacking empathy, right?
Gotcha.
Because if you weren't responsible for killing somebody, James, would you tend to not try to look responsible for killing somebody?
Wasn't me.
Would that be a general thing that you do?
Wasn't me. Wasn't me. Not me.
Have a look at this. The unhinged Nicole, who I love very much. Have a look at this. This is the kind of competition we're going to see leading into this election. We are now actually comparing how candidates hug people who are crying as evidence for who you should vote for. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. This is news. This is real news, ladies and gentlemen.
How bad was it? Apparently, the president's stops in El Paso and Dayton, two communities he vowed to help heal, were so off-key, the attacks on local leaders so jarring, the barrage of angry tweets at the media and local leaders so startling that even Trump's own White House acknowledged the trip was a debacle. New York Times White House reporter Maggie Haberman on her...
Maggie Haberman is going to tell you that people inside the White House said the trip was a debacle, James. I don't know if we covered it on this show. I think it was my show, The Daily Boogie, where the paradox here is the reason that they were framing the El Paso trip as he shouldn't come here because it would be disrespectful is to paint him into a corner. So regardless of what he actually does, it's going to be the wrong thing to do. So if he doesn't go to El Paso, it'll be seen as the president is weak in the face of calls for him not to. Like the president is weak when Beto O'Rourke says don't come. And then if he does go, they'll say, well, he shouldn't have gone because nobody wants him here. You see what I mean? Like, he can't win either way. That was the whole point. And now we're seeing it play out in the days after.
Reporting earlier today.
Does the White House think this visit went well, Maggie? Do you have any sense
they don't? No.
If they're waking up this morning happy about this?
Most people, well, they would, I suspect, not say that publicly, will privately admit that yesterday was something of a debacle.
She just gave away the game.
I won't say it publicly.
Hold on, yeah, no, wait. It's even worse. She gave away the game. This is a pure speculation, and her language gave her away. Play that again and listen to what she says. She said the key words here aren't even that. I suspect. That's right. That's the key words. Listen to what she says. She's lying through her teeth, and she knows it.
Reporting earlier today.
Does the White House think this visit went well, Maggie? Do you have any sense
they don't? No.
If they're waking up this morning happy about this?
Most people, well, they would, I suspect, not say that publicly, will privately admit that yesterday was...
They're not happy. And what are you basing this on? Well, my suspicion that most people would if they were asked. But we put 3 caveats into one sentence there. I suspect, would, and if all means didn't happen. As far as most people are concerned. But it's a confidence game, right? It's a confidence routine. You say it with such confidence that people just instantaneously believe it and don't actually pay attention to the specific words that are being used. Journalists are very good at this stuff. She's covering her ass by doing that. So she can't be accused of lying. She's speculating. And she's speculating because she has experience and inside knowledge. So my speculation is worth more than your speculation, right? That's the confidence game, the routine that's being played here.
Something of a debacle. That these were not the headlines that they wanted to see. They wanted him to go in and behave differently.
No shit, they're not the headlines. No, I mean, come on. She just gave the game away again. Of course they're not the fucking headlines they wanted to see. You guys are writing the fucking headlines. Hey, the president's a dipshit. Does anybody want to see that headline besides you crazy whack jobs? Of course not. Holy shit.
Making as little news as possible. He actually has done that in the past. He did it after Pittsburgh, where there was also controversy after the synagogue shooting there. He was much more able to sort of stay calm. Yesterday, he couldn't stop watching television news where Democratic...
He wasn't calm, James. He couldn't stay calm. He wasn't calm. You see, because he's unhinged, right? He's a radical, unhinged, angry guy. Yeah. And it's, he's dangerous because, see, here's what I want to get through to people, right? The different approach between the last election and this election. And I think this is what's going to become more and more evident. And I think this is what we've actually been building to. And I'm angry at myself for not spotting it sooner. In the past, in 2016, the approach was Donald Trump is a joke. Okay, so he's not serious. He's not a real candidate. He's dumb. He's an idiot. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He's kind of all at sea. It's chaos. He's out of his depth. And it's really embarrassing for the country. And that didn't work. That didn't work because the mockery, while it would have worked before, I think a lot of people were now at the stage where, well, okay, if you want to mock, we can mock better. And I think that's effectively what you saw in 2016 was, Hillary Clinton and her team being mocked relentlessly to the point where the social media companies now have to step in and stop it from happening. Like, you're not allowed to mock certain people anymore. So they've changed it now from mockery and he's terrible and he's an idiot and he's a joke. The push now is going to be he's dangerous. Once we used to laugh, but now it's real. And he's dangerous because the words that he says mean things, and he's pushing the country further and further to the right. He's polarizing people. His words are literally resulting in people dying. Immigrants are dying. Black people are being oppressed. He's turning the country into a police state, into an awful, awful place because he's not stupid, but he is dangerous, right? I think that's the change that's going to be coming in 2020. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I would even go, this is why they're trying to downplay or distract or turn into a negative the fact that the president's there to make people heal. Listen, this is a no shit statement, and I know it's a little bit puffery by me saying this, but why the fuck do you guys come and watch this show? You don't come here to want to commit suicide by the time it's over. I promise you that. There's nobody that shows up to watch the Tav show that thinks, fuck, I hope these guys make me jump off the cliff today. Nobody says that. When after every tragedy, you know, we're still going to be on here and we're still going to bring the truth. We're still going to bring the news and we're going to make you laugh your fucking ass off while we do it. That's the job of the Tav show, is to bring it real and be exactly the kind of people we are. Because why? Because humans need to heal. We have to move forward. If we want to mire ourselves down in pity, in depression, we damn sure aren't coming to the Tav show. I mean, that's just the same exact parallel here to what they're doing to the president. The president's job is not to go there and say, holy fuck, man, I don't know what the fuck we're going to do about this shit. Sorry, maybe you guys will get killed next week. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. No! His job is to go there and help the people heal. And the only way to make those people heal is to come there and bring them some normalcy and let them feel good about, holy shit, that's the president of the United States right here. He's here and he's making me feel better and he's shaking my hand and I get to take a picture with the president of the United States. I mean, think about what his job is. His job to heal people has nothing to do with what the left is trying to tell you it does.
But his job to heal people, James, he's not as good at healing people as the Democrats are. That's the whole point of this little clip. Exactly. Check it out.
The candidates were attacking him, and this is part of the process.
These were the headlines that underscored Maggie's reporting from the New York Times. Trump uses a day of healing to deepen the nation's divisions.
James, what are you laughing for? These are the authoritative sources, James.
The New York Times, the Washington Post,
real news.
And the fucking LA Times. Where's the Des Moines Register? I mean, give me a fucking break. Holy
James,
crap.
This is... James, I'm sorry. I feel I must interject. These are the authoritative news sources, comrade. This is real news. I mean, if you can't trust them, you know, you only have this cynicism about the corporate mainstream media, James, because Donald Trump told you to have it, right? I mean, if Donald Trump wasn't around relentlessly attacking the free press like a dictator, then you would, of course, be completely in lockstep with the New York Times, Washington Post, and LA Times, because you can't think for yourself. And Donald Trump has, you know, he's used his wizardry, his rhetorical wizardry, to lure you to the far right and promote far right extremist talking points, James. Speaking of extremism, things like the Second Amendment, for example. Yeah. Just thought I'd slip that in there. Beware of those Second Amendment extremists, guys. Just be careful. So you've been lured into this false sense of hatred for the corporate mainstream press, whereas otherwise before it wouldn't have been a problem. But I do want to get back to the point here. Donald Trump isn't nice enough to victims, and that's why he shouldn't go to El Paso, because it's his fault. Remember, he's dangerous, not stupid. He's dangerous.
From the Washington Post, Trump attacks local leaders as he visits two cities grieving from mass shootings. And the LA Times with this one. Trump visits shooting victims in Dayton and El Paso and lashes out at his critics. The Washington Post adds this, quote, none of the 8 victims of the El Paso mass shooting still being treated at University Medical Center agreed to meet with President Trump when he visited.
Now, none of the victims agreed to meet with President Trump when he visited on Wednesday. Pardon my cynicism, but could it possibly be that the people who are still being treated for the shooting in hospital may be in some kind of, say, critical stage, or maybe under, or maybe still receiving very intensive treatment? Because another way to say that the people haven't agreed to meet with President Trump would be to say they didn't meet with President Trump because they were unable to. Like, that would be another way to say it, right?
Yeah, there was some of that.
Did this guy who's in a medically induced coma agree to meet with President Trump or not? You know what I mean? So I'm not so sure about that. They could be right, but you know, I'm just putting that out there as a potential reality.
Visited on Wednesday, the president's attempts at consoling communities in pain, paling in comparison to some of the men and women who seek to replace him.
You see, look who's better at empathy, James.
In an emotional encounter, El Paso native Beto O'Rourke yesterday comforted an anguished member of his community. Here's that moment.
Talk to me.
It's too much. El Paso was great. I don't know why this dude is doing this to us.
It's all right.
It's all right. Now, see, I think I can speak for James here. We're not laughing at the guy's pain because he's obviously, it's a very real, raw moment for him. But it's the fact that the corporate media, the camera is right there, zoomed right in. And somebody found this guy, because none of this happens by chance. Somebody found this guy and brought him to Beto O'Rourke, where the cameras are, and said, hey, do you want to talk with Mr. O'Rourke? Yes, I do. And Beto was ready for the moment. So, people will say, oh, he's so authentic. But the whole scenario is inauthentic. We're talking about politics. We're talking about a presidential campaign here. None of this happens by chance, right? So he hugs the guy, gives the guy a big hug.
Raw humanity. Beto O'Rourke then offering the grieving man his contact information and telling him to reach out. He needs help. O'Rourke wasn't the only person.
Let me just point out that notice how it seems like Beto has his arm making sure that this guy doesn't go in for the hug. He's like making sure he maintains that safe distance. He just got a firm grip on that guy's left arm. No. This is the kind of crazy guy that's going to come up and slobber all over my shirt. I'm going to make sure he doesn't go in for the hug. I got him right here where I want him. And then let me give you my business card. This is what follows for compassion nowadays. He's not rubbing the guy's back. He's not letting him get a hug. He's not, consoling the guy with any, grandiose words. I mean, nothing. He says, it's all right. Keeps him at arm's length and says, here's my business card. What is he trying to do? Like, I don't understand how that's empathetic in the slightest. Like, I would treat my dog better than that. I would treat your dog better than that. And I don't even fucking like dogs.
Easier time touching the nation's raw nerves and speaking to the bravery of the victims with more eloquence than the president.
That was eloquent this morning. And
sorry, say again.
That was eloquent. Those are eloquent words. Holy shit!
Here,
I'm in the wrong
me give
business.
You my business card. Get in touch. Get in touch. Here's my business card. Don't call before 9 o'clock, and 10 p.m. is the cutoff.
in the wake of yet another act of hatred in America. But I come here today because of love.
Right now,
it's so easy, this stuff. It's so easy to make the shallow announcements. Oh my God. It's like politics 101. It's the kind of shit that you learn at like local council level, all right? We need unity, not division. We need love, not hate. I don't come here as a divider. I come here as a uniter. Like, it's just like, doing the juxtaposition thing. It's like, well, some people are saying that America has no future, but I believe in a future for America. It's like, this is like bland speech writing, uncreative 101. And they're still doing it, and it drives me fucking nuts because it's like, what's happening here. You know how fraudulent it is. And what appears to be an impassioned plea and what appears to be empathy is really just rhetorical trickery. That's all it is. But one after another, they line up and do it.
We have to decide what kind of nation we're going to become.
We can't go on like this. I was part of what I feel like was the first generation where school shootings were routine. Now we've seen a second. Are we really going to allow there to be a third?
That's actually pretty clever. He's changing it, like making you think into the future, but...
Those bullets are not distinguishing between a Republican and a Democrat.
Yeah, we're all on the same team.
And those children who are going to school every day in fear of some gunman roaming the halls of their school could care less if you are a Democrat or a Republican.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American people may be running out of tears, but I pray they're not running out of will.
Oh, this guy, let me point out that he was this fucking moron. All right, first of all, let me just say real quick. let me just say real quick that let me tell you how compassionate the left is. This will tell you exactly how compassionate they are. The triage RN, that's right, the triage nurse that actually was highlighted to Donald Trump from the doctors. Now, remember, doctors are the arrogant sons of bitches in the hospital. Okay, we all get it. They were the ones that credited this ER triage nurse with saving extra lives, going above and beyond the duty of any nurse. And so the president went to thank her personally. And now the crazy ass fucking left is doxing her, threatening her with death threats. And this is what's happening because she saved lives. That's how compassionate these fucksticks on the left are. But let me talk about this fucking slimy sumbitch. This guy is so fucking retarded that he said he was the vice president when Parkland happened.
You're not going to steal my thunder like that, James.
People think Biden may be the one to take the fight to Trump, but he's had a couple of dicey moments. Let's listen here.
I watched what happened when the kids from Parkland marched up to, and I met with them, and then they went off to up on the hill when I was vice president. They went off the hill to go into those neighborhoods. All those congressmen were like, "No, I'm not here. I'm not here. Don't tell them I'm around." This president has fanned the flames of white supremacy in this nation. His low energy, vacant-eyed mouthing of the words written for him, condemning white supremacists this week, I don't believe fooled anyone.
Now, we have to watch that again. This is a CNN clip. Why do you think, James, they put those two clips back to back like that? Why do you think that they would do that? Huh?
Yeah.
What? Let's do it again. Let's watch it one more time, shall we?
Watch what happened when the kids from Parkland marched up to, and I met with them, and then they went off to up on the hill when I was vice president. They went off the hill to go into those neighborhoods. All those congressmen were like, "No, I'm not here. I'm not here. Don't tell them I'm around."
That didn't happen. Mm-hmm. That's flat out a lie. It just did not happen. He was not the vice president.
By over a year. By over a year.
By over a year. Now, can you imagine if Donald Trump made a similar gaffe to that? I mean, he was wrong. To be fair, Donald Trump has made worse gaffes than that. Remember when he said there was a terrorist attack in Sweden and one happened the next day instead of the day that he said that it was happening? Like, oh, yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Like that's just as bad, James.
I remember when he said that we took over all the Revolutionary War airports?
The airports, right? So it happens.
It happens.
It happens.
But not like
it
this.
Happens.
Come on.
But we're protecting Joe Biden here. So instead of just playing that and then talking about that mistake, we need to follow it up with...
This president has fanned the flames of white supremacy in this nation.
Fan the flames of white supremacy in this nation because we're running cover for the guy. So, yeah, Joe Biden made a gaffe about the Parkland shooter. Don't say we didn't report it because we definitely reported it. But don't forget, Donald Trump is a Nazi. That's the main thing to get
That's
out
the
of
main
this,
takeaway
right?
here. But let me say this, because the point I was making, because I didn't want to steal your thunder there, but the quick point I was making was he lies about that because that is a narrative for them. That's the Parkland kids. Remember, he's got all these fucking brainwashed juveniles ready to be out there to tell you to get rid of your guns. But he didn't say a single word. Remember, some of these idiots in here said, oh, we've had 2. Let's not let there be a 3rd. Hey, dipshits. There was 28 under the Obama presidency. Yes, 28 while Joe Biden was vice president. Not a fucking word from him. Not a fucking word from any Democrat about them. But no, now we've only had 2, and we don't want there to be a 3rd. If we want to do all of the math, we could just start going backwards and see how there was 28 under them, and there was only 28 total under the previous, 75 presidents? How many do we have? 41? I mean, come on. These people are absolutely lying, ridiculously lying, and it's insane.
There was 28 shootings, but there was also half a dozen race riots where various cities around the United States almost burned to the ground, James. And in the aftermath of these race riots, the Obama administration, in their effort to heal the country, because there's never been such a good healer like Barack Obama, in his effort to heal the country, came out and said that some police should be re-educated on how to deal with black people. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Don't forget the beer summit. Gotta have a beer. What is it with the Democrats?
Get me a beer.
What is it with the? Yeah, I was just gonna say, what is it with the Dems and beer? Did they think we're all? This is what they literally think. Okay, so the Middle Americans, they're all a bunch of fucking drunks, and as long as we say we're gonna have a beer with them, they'll think we're one of them. What in the fuck is wrong with Democrats? They just don't even know how to be real Americans.
There you go. So remember, James, he's no longer stupid, but he's now dangerous, James. And one of the big selling points of Donald Trump is, of course, his Twitter account. Now, we've gone over article after article after article on this show where people are urging their comrades in the corporate media to start ignoring Donald Trump's Twitter account because he's throwing out bait and we're taking the bait and we're amplifying his message when we should be attacking it only. So Jake Tapper had this on State of the Union. And to be fair to Jake Tapper, he's probably not that bad most of the time, Jake. He's actually the one on CNN who I can watch because he can be pretty fair when he wants to be. So this is not one of those occasions.
Hello, I'm Jake Tapper in Washington, where the State of our Union is appalled. We begin this morning with a retweet from the President of the United States. Not a message about healing or uniting the country 1 week after 2 horrifying massacres.
See, about healing and uniting.
Everybody that's ever retweeted me, everybody that's ever retweeted me, you are all responsible for all of the words that have ever come out of my mouth. That's the signal here that CNN wants you to take away. This is a coordinated effort, like we said, like the title of this show even tells you. This is the corporate media starter pack. Listen to how they conjoin these things. They're sending that. That's a subtle thing. But these are things Boogie and I pay attention to constantly. What's the subtle message that they're sending? How are they getting into American psyche? And this is one of them. It's retweets are bad. Retweets mean you're responsible. So if you're the president, you're responsible. That's supposed to carry down. Don't forget that. Listen to these fucking people.
You're responsible for the shooting, and in the aftermath, you're proving your responsibility for the shooting for not constantly talking about how you're responsible for the shooting, right? That's what's being done here.
Not about the victims of those tragedies. Instead, President Trump, using his massive Twitter platform, 63 million followers, to spread a deranged conspiracy theory tying the death of pedophile Jeffrey Epstein in prison to the president's former political rivals, the Clintons.
Just incidentally, I just wonder if there was, you see how sometimes doubling back like this can be counterproductive. Because how many people watching this would say Jeffrey Epstein and the Clintons and just punch that into Google and then all of a sudden have all of this shit pop up? Go, what? Hang on. Whoa. What is this? I didn't know this. So that's the risk that they're taking here, right? Mm-hmm. Because him tweeting that out actually gets the corporate press talking nonstop about Jeffrey Epstein and his connection to the Clintons, whether they're aware of it or not. They can call it a deranged conspiracy theory. They might even be right, but at that point, it doesn't matter because that's getting permeated out there in the public, right?
That's right.
I'm not going to show you the tweet, but the spokesman for former President Bill Clinton responded.
Good job, Jake. Good job nipping that in the bud.
I'm not going to show you the burning building, but trust me, there was a fire. I'm not going to show you the wrecked car, but trust me, there was a car wreck that killed 5 people. I'm not going to show you the bank robbery scene, the footage scene, because that will be promoting the bank robberies. Just think about how far these guys have gone to where they literally, this is again another subtle thing that they're trying to give you. Is that they're not going to share with you the tweet because they don't want to give it press, but they're going to give it press. What? Jake, are you awake? Is there something like wrong with you? Like maybe you're still sleeping, you're in dreamland, and you don't understand how the real world works. But this is what they're doing to you. They're trying to manipulate you at all times, and that's another subtle manipulation right there.
You just reminded me of the fire, James. I think it's time to go back into the archive and pull this one out just for old time's sake.
Some people see a dumpster fire and do nothing but watch the spectacle. Some are too scared to face the danger, or they think it will benefit them if they just let it keep on burning. Others shrug and say, oh, all this talk of a dumpster fire, it's just fake news. There is an inferno raging in Washington. But here in the land of 10,000 lakes, we know how to put out a fire.
I'm Richard Pater, and I approve of this message.
Beware the dumpster fire. Beware the dumpster fire. With that, James, should we head on over to the hammering?
Oh, yes, let's get to the frickin' hammering. I love it.
Let's do it.
Stop the hammering.
Lawrence O'Donnell, the guy who coined this very segment. So I thought we'd end all of this malarkey with the man, the one and only, the great Lawrence O'Donnell, talking about the absence of empathy, tying all of the stories and clips that we've shown tonight together into one nice, neat little package. Let's go.
Last night at this hour, we refused to show you the propaganda video recorded by the Trump White House during the president's visits to hospitals in Dayton, Ohio, and El Paso, Texas.
Now, first of all, yeah. So, first of all, what springs to mind when I hear a corporate media outlet say, we refuse to show you the propaganda video? I'm thinking like bloodthirsty African dictators or communist leaders in World War II, James, or the Nazis, right? We refuse to play this propaganda video on our network. What they are talking about is a video that was filmed by the White House press team, which all White Houses, all administrations have always had, of the president going around meeting people in a hospital. What they failed to tell you is that we just saw the clip of Beto O'Rourke and his press team filming the crying man, like giving him a hug and giving him his business card, right? Literally, if that's the new term of definition now, that's a propaganda video, okay, to show Beto O'Rourke as really a heartfelt, empathetic guy. But we refuse to show Donald Trump's videos because it's all fake and phony and manufactured.
The news media was not allowed to see what Donald Trump was actually doing and saying in those hospitals. The news media's cameras were not allowed.
Oh, I see now. Now, Lawrence is going to get to the point where he's going to say, well, actually, we've started to get some footage coming in of Donald Trump going around the hospital from people who were filming it with their camera. So what I'm expecting to see is Donald Trump like seeing babies in cribs just going up and punching them in the face because they're brown. You know what I mean? Donald Trump walking up going, yeah, well, you took a couple of bullets to the legs. I don't think that the city should be paying for your health care, and just pulling the cord out on people as he walks around the hospital, making fun of people with cancer and stuff, and disabled people. Like I'm expecting to see Donald Trump going around doing this, eating people's food off their tray while they're waiting. Tripping over little old ladies as they stumble from the bed to the toilet. That's what I'm expecting to see, right? Because he put out a propaganda video showing that he was being really nice, but in actuality, he's a bastard.
Ripping IVs.
He's a cruel inhuman.
He was ripping IVs right out of their arms, saying, what the fuck? You don't need it.
Yeah,
get out of the bed, pussy. Get out of the bed.
Yeah, he was pissing in people's cornflakes. He was doing a lot. There was a rampage, James, a rampage.
And video released today shows why.
Okay.
No one should have shown the Trump propaganda video yesterday.
Right.
Which was turned into a Trump campaign commercial released on Twitter yesterday.
Yep.
We now have a slightly better and only...
Much like the Beto O'Rourke video that we just saw on CNN. Believe it or not. Isn't that the darndest thing, how these things work?
Slightly better idea of what happened inside those hospitals, because private,
like I said, this better be good, Lawrence.
Video recorded by people in those rooms is beginning to emerge. Perhaps more will emerge, but as of now, it is exactly the kind of obscenity that you had every right to expect it to be when Donald Trump spoke in those hospitals.
Okay.
We see Donald Trump in El Paso speaking to some of the heroes in that hospital, doctors, nurses, and others who spent days.
Seems like a lot of setup, doesn't it?
Oh my God, this is like, I'm waiting now. Now it's even worse than what we just said. I'm expecting Donald Trump to like sit right on top of somebody, like right on their gunshot wound or something. Maybe putting his finger in the wound. Holy shit, this guy's building this thing
Maybe
up.
he just took a gun off Secret Service and shot them in the face himself.
Maybe.
I'm going to finish the job. I'm going to finish a job because I'm a big white supremacist guy, big Nazi guy. Okay, eugenics, yeah, we love it. Okay, so it's got to be bad, right? From all this. It must
this
be
has got to be fucking
the obscenity,
horrible.
James. The obscenity. The obscenities, James.
And continue to spend days trying to save lives.
Okay.
And he said not one word to them about what he would try to do to prevent another massacre.
Now, remember, now this is the delicious irony of this, okay? We didn't show the video that the White House put out because it was campaign propaganda, James. We are angry that Donald Trump didn't make campaign speeches to doctors in a hospital talking about what he would do if he were elected president again in order to stop more shit. So we're angry that he didn't do the campaign video that we wanted him to do and instead did his own campaign video. Wait, we haven't even seen the video yet. We haven't. Don't, just calm, cool your jets, relax. So we've had 90 seconds now of preamble to this obviously shocking, obscenity-filled, ranting, kicking old ladies in the face, tripping over children, sticking your thumb into bullet wounds. This is what we're expecting now. Come on now. Bring the good stuff. Bring the heat, Lawrence.
From sending dozens and dozens of victims to their hospital.
Okay.
Instead, he lied to them about their own community. He insulted their intelligence and their dignity by lying to their faces about something they both know is they know is both a lie.
Okay.
And they very much do not care about.
Okay. Here we go.
The lie was about the size of the crowd. Yes, the size of the crowd that Donald Trump attracted when he held a hate-fueled campaign rally in El Paso.
A hate-fueled campaign rally in El Paso, James. So they're actually going to say, because what I'm going to preempt this now. Donald Trump said that his crowd was bigger than Beto O'Rourke's. Now, now Lawrence O'Donnell is going to say that that is in fact a lie, because apparently Beto very popular guy down in El Paso. But I want you to see, they're going to show the raw video. I want you to pay careful attention to the reaction of the people that Donald Trump is talking to, because from this setup, you would expect, James, that these people were mortified.
Right.
Hey, he's robbing us of our dignity. That's a quote from Lawrence O'Donnell. Robbing them of their dignity, insulting their intelligence, obscenity, right? Check it out. Check out the real video. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm now expecting the people shooting the video to like stand up and say, "Get the fuck out of my room. What are you doing here?" I mean, something, right? I mean, why are you here? Who the fuck are you?
Exactly.
6 months ago, here is that lie.
That was some crowd.
Thank you for
and we had twice the number outside. And then you had this crazy Beto. Beto had like 400 people in a parking lot. They said his crowd was wonderful.
Did you? I could have sworn that the people he was talking to were laughing. Did you hear that?
I think we should rewind that, because I think they were laughing. Not only that, if you look at where they're cutting into this video, so either
that's right.
Either MSN.
I guarantee you, the people said we went to your rally 6 months ago at El Paso.
Exactly.
I think
exactly. I think so too.
Can't show that though. Can't show that part of the clip.
Nope.
Months ago, here is that lie.
That was some crowd.
Thank you for
and we had twice the number
He's smiling
outside.
too, by the way.
And then you had this crazy Beto. Beto had like 400 people in a parking lot. They said his crowd was wonderful.
The laughing first lady and the laughing president.
What about the laughing people
that he was talking to, shaking his hand? You know, the Donald Trump supporters in the fucking hospital? You hack! The people he was talking to were laughing. The guy shook his hand. Hey, that was some crowd. You know, we had a great time. It was a big crowd. So many people outside. It was a tremendous crowd. And, Beto, crazy Beto had like 400 people in a parking lot. Yes, the laughing first lady. The laughing president. Disgraceful, disgusting, spitting in the faces of the heroes of El Paso. Listen to this unhinged whack job. This man is a lunatic. You would have thought. In the preamble, in the set, and mind you, it was 110 seconds of setup for a 5-second clip, mind you. Using all the superlatives, creating all of the conditions for you to think that, like I said, Donald Trump was going around ripping IVs out of people's arms, pulling the plug out of the wall, spitting in the faces of the doctors, right? Slapping the children around their head. Like, you would think that's what was going on here.
Hey, don't forget don't forget it's the delivery. Don't forget when we pause in between each word to make sure that you understand that this man is unhinged. That is how you deliver a setup. Evil. Fucking
disgusting. The heroes, James. The heroes of El Paso. Donald Trump went there and didn't talk about how he would fix it so this never happens again. No. He went there and lied to their faces. The obscenity, the evil, the disgusting. He insulted their intelligence.
One man.
He robbed them of their dignity, James. Robbed them of their dignity.
Laughing about the Trump lies.
Laughing about the Trump lies. Look at he's so serious. He's so serious about it too, isn't he? So what's the lie here? So what's the lie? Beto O'Rourke. So is the lie Beto O'Rourke had 400 people in a car park somewhere? Okay. Maybe he had 450. Right. What a dangerous lie.
Do you remember that video?
What we said back.
Go ahead.
Do you remember that video? Like the video where they tried to show Beto on stage with his entire crowd, and you could see the concert worth of people that were outside Trump's rally, and the big screen of Trump on the screen right behind him. It was fucking fantastic. It highlighted that it was perfectly true.
Yep. No, it was all a big lie, James, and he was insulting the people's intelligence. The people who went up to Donald Trump shook his hand and laughed about how shitty Beto O'Rourke is as a candidate. He was spitting in their face.
Oh, my God.
Then was that the El Paso Police Department estimated that Beto O'Rourke's crowd was between 10,000 and 15,000 people, and everyone in that room yesterday knows that. They know it was not 400 people.
I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna have to quit. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
How dumb are these people?
Oh my God.
How dumb is this guy?
Oh,
well, he was telling an awful lie.
Oh my God.
It was between 10 and 15,000. Not
was
400.
That was the expected audience, Lawrence. The expected audience. That's what they prepared for, 10 to 15,000. Yes. See, 10,000 people will fill a normal-sized, gymnasium, auditorium. Like people go pay, to go watch the Knicks play at Madison Square Garden. I don't even know how many people sitting there. 20,000? Like, it's actually not that big of an arena. 25, you know what I mean? So half of that. Now, if that were true, why is Beto O'Rourke playing events at elementary schools? Like, I don't know. I mean, you tell me. I mean, if that were true...
Because he has empathy, James.
Yeah.
Because he cares.
Yeah. There's no fucking way that was 10,000 people. We've seen the video, Lawrence. The entire world has seen the video of that Beto O'Rourke fucking disaster, that debacle with Donald Trump on the outdoor big screen, like at the Super Bowl, playing right behind your hero, Beto O'Rourke, with a sea of humanity. Way over there on the Trump side, while there was about 10 people in front of Beto's stage where he was saying, hey Rick, how you doing? John, thanks for coming. Sally, good to see you. Like, this guy knew everybody in his crowd's name. Okay, that's how small that fucking crowd was, and we can clearly see it on video. That's fucking hilarious, dude. This was the best hammering ever.
Well, on that note, I guess what a great time to leave it right there. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your hammering.
The hammering.
Folks, I'm still choking.
He's coughing up a lung.
That is all the time we got for you before I die from laughter. Yes, Lawrence O'Donnell may be the dumbest man on the planet. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. If you want to follow him, you can follow him at Boogie Bumper. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Real Person PLTCS. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at TAV Show. And you can find all our prior episodes on TAVshow.com. Thank you, and have a good night, Houston.
Do you remember when big tech called themselves the free speech platform and used slogans like "Don't be evil"? Fast forward a decade, and suddenly those platforms we loved for years have changed, and the promises they made at the start no longer apply. So what happened? How did we get here? Over the last decade, these companies have quietly moved their corporate headquarters outside the US to EU tax havens. The big change? Well, big tech is now governed under UN law. In simple terms, US free speech laws no longer apply to these platforms. What started as free speech for all is now regulated speech to some. We believe you, the people, not big tech, are the best judge of what you want to watch, read, and hear. We are content creators. We understand that a creator's ability to make a living should not be infringed upon. We created Zap Media with you in mind, a free market, next-gen media platform that believes in protecting your speech rights and, equally as important, your privacy, including IP theft and data mining. By removing the threat of censorship and freeing the market, content creators have a home base to build their platforms and grow their brands. The Zap Media community are brand ambassadors, coalescing behind publishers, subscribers, and advertisers alike. This is the beginning of the next big wave in digital media. With an estimated 225 million video-on-demand users expected by 2022, Zap is poised, with your help, to fully launch before the end of 2019. We look forward to partnering with you.